Hello and welcome to episode 8 of our podcast. We're back again. Unfortunately, Chris can't join us, but back with Dan and Mike. Welcome back on, Mike. How you doing?
All right, yeah. Not it's been a while since we've done this again, isn't it? About a month, I think, isn't it? But
too long.
Yeah, we feel like we've got loads to go through, and then we've had Roland back in the press again as well. So even off the field stuff's still been going on. So plenty to get stuck into tonight, I think.
Yeah, welcome back on, Dan. How you doing? You've been to a lot of games recently, Dan. So it's good to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, got through a few miles. I'm feeling a bit confused. I just realised I've got a tea cup that my wife uses for a Chinese tea full of red wine. I don't know what that says about my state of mind, but maybe it's the miles I've been getting through because, yeah, plenty of football and mostly quite encouraging.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, yeah, looking forward to this one. Should be good. Last time we haven't done a podcast since Newport County on the 15th of November. So, apologies for that. We did try. We should try and do it a bit more regular. We were just talking before we started. We were trying to do one during Christmas, in that Christmas New Year gap, maybe after 3 games. So, yeah, hopefully we can cover back a bit sooner next time. So, yeah, what we've got to cover, we've got 4 league games, an FA Cup tie. We can talk about some green shoots potentially. We can talk about the transfer window opening, and then we can talk about the FA Cup and Roland's latest entry into local media, and then we can just have a little look ahead at the fixtures we've got coming. So yeah, let's jump into it. First game to cover, worst one of the only defeat, actually. It's rare for say that these days. 5 games, only 1 defeat. That tells you a little bit about the direction we're going. And this was the 3-1 away defeat to Fleetwood. I think it's fair to say all goals had an element of defensive error. I would say the first one was a delightful chip. You've got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
But yeah, really poor defending from a Shrewsbury Town perspective. First one giving them just too much space. And then, an real error on the second one. And yeah, it was a poor performance. Obviously, the bright spot is Cabio got his goal. But I don't know, Dan, fair to say, I think that Fleetwood were the better team on the day. Even the best sides have their off days. I'm not saying we're the best side, by the way.
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's a few times this year I've said, you know what, this time last year we'd have lost that game. Well, this time this year we lost that game. And there's actually remarkably little to be said about it. I thought we weren't great. We knew we weren't great. Fleetwood weren't great, but they're a bit better than us. So, that's my line drawn, to be honest, Ollie.
Yeah, it's one of those, we're obviously learning very quickly what League Two is all about. And if you make defensive errors and you don't put in, a good shift, you're gonna get defeated, aren't you, Mike? Don't say anything to say about this one before we move on to the Gillingham game.
Yeah, it looked like the weather was miserable, that we hadn't really got off the blocks, like you say, and you sort of summed it up when we were chatting just before we started, saying it was one of those games where you can sort of pick up the vibe very early on, and your mind starts to wander a little bit. And it was like you say, I looked at the goals just before we started recording just to remind myself, and I was like, oh god, yeah, that game happened. I don't really need to remember that. I think that was. No. I can remember after that game when we lost, it felt very doom and gloom because we were on a bit of we'd done all right against Newport, and then it was back to, it felt like a real big step back again. But luckily after that, I think, the games that are going to come out, we seem to turn it around again. So it feels like a blip more than an indicator of where we were going, which at the time I can remember thinking, oh, is this us heading for another 2-3 defeats in a row? No, it didn't turn out to be. So I think it's just one of those, bad day at the office, and we did better subsequently. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Moving on after that, we obviously had the return of my brain has gone completely blank.
The pantomime
Gareth
villain?
Ainsworth.
I'll start the section again.
Yeah,
if it helps, I have that all the time, things like this. The most obvious things, like, where's it gone? I can't remember what it is. Yeah.
No. So I'll start again.
Yep.
Then we had the return of the pantomime villain. Gareth Ainsworth was back in Shropshire. Me personally, I was annoyed when he left. I think everyone was. I think we were all right to be annoyed. I think time's a bit of a healer. And, didn't really have too much ill against him. Look at his record, pretty shocking. I was really hoping we were going to beat him so I could tweet, Gareth Ainsworth still not getting results at the Meadow, but unfortunately got a draw, so I couldn't quite do that. He was a pantomime villain. He knew it. And yeah, obviously you had your little encounter with him, Dan. I don't know if your thoughts have changed since then.
It's funny, we were travelling back from the game yesterday, and we were at Warwick Services, and my twins every time, let's have a look, Gareth Ainsworth might be here. So they actually now expect to meet him every time we get to Warwick Services. I am a little bit more negative towards him than you, Ollie, because of the promises. Promise the world, deliver.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm happy about it, but I'm not going to get overly angry.
But what I think wouldn't serve us well is making him the centre of attention when he returned, because I just don't see how that works for us. I'm conscious of what we do. Gillingham weren't on a great run of form, and I think for the most part we did that pretty well, actually. I mean, ultimately, of course, we only got a point from the game, but I thought the performance was a lot better than the Fleetwood performance. We scored some decent goals, just couldn't quite get over the line for that 3 points. But at the same time, our home form's now officially quite good. So, I mean, to be disappointed about 1 point is an improvement on where we were just sort of 12 months ago, 6 months ago even. So, yeah, I took the point for what it was. A little bit disappointing, but at the same time, we could easily have lost that game once they got right back into it.
Yeah, I'm a bit different to you guys. I hate the guy. I think he's a prick. I think the way he left the club was disgraceful. And I really wanted to stick it up
Middle East for you then,
day.
Mike, I can see.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, just get me sorting out all the conflicts. No, and every time we scored, I was giving it big ones, like, I might have said some sort of outrageous things towards him, which I won't be repeating. But I don't think I was alone in that. And I think you could see in the team, there was a galvanizing factor for a few players. I think particularly Luca Hull had an outstanding game, and I think he had something to prove along that touchline right in front of Gareth Ainsworth. And it proved in the goal that he scored as an excellent goal. I think it's a smashing goal, isn't it? And then George Lloyd as well. I think he ran his absolute socks with that. He always does, but he seemed to go up a gear. And there were 2 or 3 in that team that were perhaps in Ainsworth's orbit that might have been a bit pushed out that had something to prove. And I think that really helped us with the performance. And I actually think on the day we were the better side. I think we bossed the game in large parts, and we sort of controlled it, and we were 3-1 up, and we were cruising, and we had loads of energy in that front three. Cabia, Scully, Lloyd were pressing, and I think for me, Ainsworth's game plan was to be able to hit it long, hit Vokes, or when he went off, hit Anderson. They were very direct, very long ball, drop it down, try and win the second ball in and around our box. And our press wasn't allowing them the time to hit that long ball. Great, game plan working. Then we bring on the 2 strikers that can't run. And all of the energy dropped out of the performance, all the energy dropped out of the press, and let them right back into it. And I think we would have won that game if not for the self-inflicted. So basically shot ourselves in the foot by changing it. I think that if you'd have brought on Perry or McDermott and kept the energy up, I think we'd have stayed on top in that game. But
yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to call you up on that or have a debate with you there. But you've
I was going to ask Mike. I mean, I've not heard Appleton mentioned this, but did anyone talk to him about those changes? What was the plan? Because I remember. I must have, when they came on, I did think, whoa, we've taken.
He didn't say anything in the post match. I don't think. I normally watch the post match like the day after. I normally like get in the car, but normally we lose, so I want to like distract myself and listen to a podcast or something, and then I don't listen to like Ward or 2 or something. So I can't remember what he said after that game, to be honest. But I remember me and Mike, we were having a debate in our WhatsApp group about it, and I thought you were going to repeat your message, but then you've done what you've corrected, almost not corrected. You said what I thought at the time was I didn't think he was wrong to take like Cabia off. I can't remember who else.
That's definitely tiring. It was because I think it was Cabia and Scully, wasn't it? Yeah.
But you're right. Taking off you should have played, but should have kept the same shape because the shape was working really well and brought more legs on. And even Sang, I don't rate Sang as a number 10, but as a defensive position player who's going to run, and he's an athletic lad, he's going to be able to run. I thought the subs were wrong, and obviously Anchor's Chuck's Anike, as his performances have got even worse since that game.
He does. But you're not bad there. He does run around like he's got an anchor dragging around behind him. I mean, run in inverted commas. It's very much a shamble, isn't it?
I don't get it, Mike, actually, because I remember him coming on at Charlton in that pivotal game last year where they won in the 96th minute and Jordan Shipley had missed in the 95th, and he caused mayhem only for 15 minutes. And when was that? April. Yeah. And I don't see the same guy at all. And it's weird. I can't make any sense of that.
To me, he just looks completely disinterested. He run when he's running around. If you watch him, he's hardly ever looking at the ball.
No, I'm not sure
When
it's
the ball-
disinterest, Mark. I think that's a bit hard. I think he can't do it.
Yeah.
And I
I
don't
just think he
understand
can't do it
how the
anymore.
ball's dropped off.
I think it's an element of it. He can't do it, so therefore he won't do it almost. But when the ball's coming into him, and he's a big bloke, he's 6'5", whatever he is, he's massive. The ball comes in and he jumps 5'6". His feet don't leave the ground, and it was.
He did have
particularly
one really
noticeable-
good shot against Gillingham. If he'd scored then, that would have been a magical moment.
know.
But yeah, I agree.
But-
Back in terms of the game before that, like you know that when we went 2-0 up, we'd only been 2-0 up at home in the league one other time all year. And that's why I thought it was so funny that we were winning 2-0. And we were, as you said, Mike, we were good for our we were good for the lead. I think we probably deserved to win. Obviously, the Cleary on the right-hand side tore us apart, and eventually they were knocking. I have no idea about the penalty, to be honest. No one seemed to argue too much at the time. I haven't seen it. I didn't watch it on TV. I didn't watch it back. Couldn't be bothered.
The problem was with that is that Stubbs and it was Anderson. They were wrestling all day, and the ref he kept talking to him, and to have your hands on in the box when you know the ref's watching you every time you two are together. It was a bit naive,
the ball
really.
was miles away. He was never going to get the ball.
Yeah, and that Anderson was looking for reasons to throw himself on the floor because when we took the press off and they got more time to hit him, he was brought into the game. He grew in stature. He looked like he grew 3 inches, and he got really physical with Stubbs. Then it became a battle that, like you say, the ball was nowhere near him. You don't need to be hands on. Just shepherd him, just shield him, and defend when the ball's near you. So it was that was shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. We kind of chucked that game away annoyingly. I can remember being very frustrated at the end of that. Whereas if you said we get a point out of Gillingham about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I'd bit your hand off, and that's kind of that's maybe evidence of us making some progress slightly, I think.
Yeah, and I really, really wanted to beat them. Gillingham fans don't want to. There's like certain fan bases are just very like annoying online. At Wickham are there. I don't know whether it's just my experience, but yeah, Gillingham. I found Gillingham fans funny. They were chanting.
Shrewsbury Town? No, that was that bit.
We're not as. I don't think we're as like literally we play like some teams, and I didn't get one fan message me at all. I remember even criticized Sheffield Wednesday's home support, and not one fan ever tweeted me or anything. But Gillingham get loads. It's really strange. And then I also found it strange they were chanting how poor our fans were, and then they were silent for like vast majority of the game. So yeah, I don't know. I just find Gillingham fans one of the odd fan bases we come across in the division.
The thing also about the game, Ollie, I mean, I just looked at Gillingham's form before we started. They've now had 5 draws on the bounce, and they won their one game before. They keep drawing all over the place. So they're one of those sides that are struggling to get over the line. So
there's a lot of teams like that, though, isn't there? In League 2, as we know, we all thought MK Dons were going to fly it. They're not doing that yet. Obviously, we come on to Walsall later. But yeah, there's no one we've watched and thought, bloody hell, they're a really good side.
Well, I had one, and I saw them the other week, and they were nowhere near as good as they were back when they beat us in the cup. But we'll get onto them later. Yeah,
we'll come onto them next, actually. So yeah, any final thoughts on the Gillingham game? I was absolutely gutted that we didn't win. I was really hoping we were going to win that game for the Ainsworth effect. Obviously keeping that home form going, and we deserved it as well, but it didn't happen.
That was the most annoying thing, really. After that, is that there's been very few games this season I felt like we really deserved the win, the 3 points, and we bossed it. And it was to not win the one game where you feel like you've really done it is very frustrating. And I'm glad it didn't lead to anything worse. But you're saying a lot of teams in this league draw too many games. I mean, we're one of them. We're drawing all over the shop still, aren't we? We should be winning more of these, really, if we can.
Yeah. So FA Cup next. Chris, you went to this one. Me and Mike watched it on TV. I think it's fair to say first half Shrewsbury were dreadful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a funny game, actually, Ollie.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been intrigued to know what it was like watching on the TV, because Sutton, I mean, I haven't been to Sutton. It was a new ground on my list. I think it's actually the 100th ground I've watched Shrewsbury Town away from home on. And it was a quirky one. And some of these non-league grounds, it felt like should we have a dog track around it or something? We were standing right up next to the pitch, and the sort of terrace behind us was 4 or 5 steps, but it was about 15 meters away, and there was no way that standing on that terrace would gain you any advantage whatsoever. Plus, they say that Walsall has lots of pillars, right? Old My Beer says Sutton, because they got 4 pillars that are about 3 yards from each other. So if you go behind that, you can't see a thing. So, and it's a very quirky ground. I mean, to be fair, it had something about it. It had a bit of character, but it did feel like it was going to be a challenge. And everything. I mean, you guys heard the talk on the TV, which I didn't, but apparently it was all about Sutton, wasn't it? Which I guess I totally.
This is going to happen, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't really want it, did we? We didn't really want the attention anyway. Like, to be fair.
But what I would say is that I thought that Sutton technically were a really impressive outfit. Now, I mean, you were looking up some of the stats earlier, weren't you, Wally? They only had how many shots on target? Very few.
Well, this is the thing. It's funny. Like, we were watching BBC, and I think Shrewsbury Town fans, or some Shrewsbury Town fans, I don't know if this is true, but my perception was that Shrewsbury Town fans were getting even more angry because of the commentary, and the commentary was making out that they were passing the ball around quite a lot, but so the game was 120 minutes officially, but there was like 9 minutes of extra time in the full game, plus obviously half time, plus extra time. So about 130, 140 minutes. They had 3 shots on target.
But I thought technically they were as good a football team as I've seen us play all year. I mean, watching them up close, ability on the ball, ability to find space, control when you're in a tight area. I thought all of that they really were quite impressive, as were South Shields actually. And I think the difference between League Two and the Conference really is minimal these days. Whereas the difference between the Premier League and the Championship is like the Atlantic Ocean, that's you. But the different, and so I was quite impressed with their technical ability on the ball. But you're right. I mean, their best chance in the first half was a Sam Klukas header, right?
Yeah,
that was a superb save from Brooke.
Yeah, Shrewsbury were rubbish. Second half, we played a bit better.
Yeah, and I suspect there was a rocket at half time, Ollie. There had to be.
We rocket at half time.
We let them have the ball too much. I mean, I hope the difference went into him.
But I think the difference in the game was why we came good late on. Was the difference in the South Shield games is physical ability, and I think we came into the game when we got to 90th minute and we started to create some space. And obviously Cabia has a moment of brilliance, as he said himself in the post match. And if you saw that, he said it was a moment of brilliance from myself, which
ain't wrong.
But it was a fantastic strike.
It was a bit odd though, Wally, because there was 9 yellow cards and 3 red cards, and there wasn't a lot going on in the game. It wasn't a war.
The red cards were funny. So Ruffles got red card,
second yellow,
2 yellows. I can't blame it too much. And then they just had an absolute head loss. Like, they could have had a lot more yellow cards. They were putting their foot in quite a bit, weren't they, Mike?
Yep.
And it was an odd game from a disciplinary perspective.
Yeah, it was a weird one, but it didn't feel. I don't know what you thought, Mike, but it didn't feel to me like a war. It didn't feel like the show.
No, it just felt like petty almost.
Yeah,
it felt like they had huffed and puffed and they'd really put us under the pressure. They controlled the game and they hadn't got what they wanted from it, and then they just got frustrated and they started to see the time ebbing away. And extra time is a bit of a lottery, isn't it? And I think they thought we haven't done it in 90, and they just got frustrated and just got a little bit away from themselves, I think.
And they were mentally
the second yellow card that they had was silly, but at the same time, it didn't have to stop the ball. You know what I mean? It almost felt like a bit of bad luck. I mean, it's his own fault, but yeah, I mean, you shouldn't really be getting yourself in that position when you're on a second yellow card. It's more stupidity than anything else, isn't it?
It's desperation to see it. Yeah, to see it out a bit as well. Like, stand in front of a free kick, and actually you shouldn't be doing it, but they're just making stupid decisions to try and play down the clock, really, aren't they? But worked for us.
And the stupid decisions is a great summary of what they did. So obviously they played really daft ball across their goal line. Their box. Marquis was clever enough to get it and score.
Well, I'm arguing about this with somebody down here who I play football with. And right, I get it. They've got an identity. They've got an ethos. Can we find any more cliches out there? And I get it. And the 15 times before that they played like that at the back, it looked brilliant. And it worked perfectly. No one remembers those 15 times. You remember the 16th time when he passed it straight to John Marquis. And I get it. You want to keep I want my 10-year-olds to keep the ball. But risk and reward, fellas. If it goes wrong once like that, you're out the FA Cup. And I just feel it was a great example of fundamentalist football. You don't have to do it like that. And particularly, when the FA Cup, and who knows, Wolverhampton Wanderers away is on the line.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if you saw Marquis' comments that he'd spotted them doing it from the bench. And he said when I get on there, I'm basically trying to cut that pass out. I'm going to be on my toes around that all the time. And he got straight in there. So it shows that you can have your ethos and young players playing this football, but sometimes there's no sort of alternative than for league football experience and smart, clever players in
it's fundamentalist
areas.
Only one way of playing, and that's it.
Well, and that's there's I know it's a bit of a random tangent. Like one of my good friends is a Morecambe fan, and they got a coach who's come in, he's been in the academy systems and stuff, and wants to play passing football in a club. Obviously, has gone through a lot of turmoil and keep being spanked 3-0 every week.
We saw it at the start of the season.
Yeah, we did
saw
it
with
as
Appleton
well.
playing out from the back, the goalkeeper playing it square to a centre half, and you're getting us nowhere. We've jacked that in. We've got back to a little bit more back to basics, and we're better off for it. And there's a time and a place for it, but that's in the Champions League or the Premier League. It's not really in League Two because the quality of football is there to execute.
Or if you're
not in your own 6-yard box, Mike.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
But the only thing you can really do it is if you are like far superior to
if you're Arsenal, they do it very well.
Yeah, but Arsenal in the Premier League, or if you're, I don't know, like if we, I don't know, fingers crossed we get a load of money and we can buy a load of amazing players, and we've got League One centre backs who can pass the ball. Fair enough, we can do it probably, and maybe it will the risk and reward over the course of the season will work because you'll create space and you'll score goals. But it just seems. I wonder sometimes whether I would wonder sometimes if this was the manager trying to get his name known.
They've done it all season.
TV.
They've done it all season.
Have
That's what
they?
they do.
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
But as an interesting tangent, I don't know if you noticed, they played in the FA Trophy yesterday, Sutton, and they played at a club called Walton and Hersham, which you guys, most people listening to this will never have heard of. But they're quite a name in local football down here. But they're below Sutton. They're in the Southern Premier League, and they got wiped off the park. They got beaten 4-1. And I said to a mate of mine who went, so what happened there then? Because I have to say that they technically were very impressive when we played them. And he said, he just kept giving the ball away. Kept giving the ball away. It was Walton and Hersham scored early, and ultimately Sutton just never got in it. And I was like, bloody hell, football, eh?
It's a funny old game.
Yeah, it is a funny old game, as someone once said.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on to the Grimsby game. So back in the league at home against obviously a side, as you said earlier on, Dan, already, that obviously gave us a good hide in the cup. The Grimsby looked like a fantastic side. I thought they would be in top 3 clear by now. They looked like such a good side. Obviously had that Manchester United win as well. And then this game, Mike, what happened?
Not a huge amount is the truth of it. I'd had a look before, and I mean their form, broadly speaking, were the same. As I said, had a lot of draws recently. They've lost the odd one here and there. So if on the back of the Grimsby performance, ignoring the cup, although we'd gone through, so I thought we'd be a bit more positive. I thought we'd have a bit more confidence, and at home against a team that haven't really been, setting the world on fire recently. I thought we'd give it a good go. And my frustration with this game was that we seemed to fear them. I think probably from the experience earlier on in the season in the cup where they've been very good. We never really battled or challenged with them, and very early on in the second half, we were time wasting for the point. Brooke was taking an age over goal kicks. We were doing the old thing where we got off the side of the pitch, picking up the ball, take a throw in, and then dropping it for a teammate. And I don't think they were very good on the night. And I think there was potentially a game there for us to win, and we didn't go for it. And I felt we showed a bit of a lack of ambition, a bit of a fear of the loss, not going to go for the win. And people coming out saying,
they were better than us in the second half, though, Mike.
Yeah, but we didn't step up to it. That's the thing. The first half, it was a game there to be had, and then they were better than us because we were trying to see the game out. We weren't trying to do anything. We were time wasting. I don't know. I got really frustrated with that game. I felt like, particularly in the middle of the park, we just lost the battle, and I came out that game really pissed off, frankly, because we just felt like one we could have got more out of if we'd have had a bit of ambition, but we just had no will to do anything. I felt.
I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I think there's a strong reason why we struggled. We played extra time on the Saturday against in the FA Cup, and we just don't have any players. We've got such a small squad. We don't.
I did think if you're not getting on Tuesday night, Ollie, you ain't got a future at Shrewsbury Town Football Club, because we were absolutely at bare bones, weren't we?
I just think we were knackered. And I'm not saying you're not wrong, Mike, in terms of what you said. The application was poor. We didn't try, but I just think that we, if you, as we go out of most games we've got 1-2 subs max who might maybe do something. I just think we were knackered.
I mean, no doubt we were down to bare bones, but that team that started, it wasn't missing any of the big names apart from
just tired. I don't know, Dan, what do you think?
The captain, they might have been a bit tired, but equally, everybody's playing a lot of football at the moment. But just to not compete and not try and win a game at home, I thought it was pretty poor. And I got frustrated again. I'm going to go on about him again. When an EK came on, he ain't tired. He isn't playing any football. And there were points in that sort of later in the game when we could have maybe done something. People were literally shouting at him, "Run!" They were shouting at him, "Jump!"
He physically can't do it. He can't do it. Something's wrong physically.
Why is he getting put on the pitch? What's the point?
Well, he
Well,
hasn't.
I'm not putting him on.
Okay, you know, like put somebody like, but you know, it was extremely frustrating. I get it, we're tired, whatever, down to the bare bones. There's lots of excuses out there, but I can remember coming out of there, and Chris was the same as well. He was very frustrated behind me. Just didn't compete, just didn't put a foot in, didn't try and take the game to Grimsby. I think if we could have done, we'd have probably started time wasting from minute one. It felt like a game we just wanted to get through. We'll take a point, we'll move on. I don't pay my money. I don't go out to Tuesday night for that. I want to see him try to do something. I thought it was just a bit. I just thought it was a bit poor. It pissed me off, frankly.
I think it's quite interesting though, Mike. I get what you're saying, but I also I felt that if anyone was going to score, it was going to be Grimsby. But what I did think is we managed to regroup quite impressively and really go for a team in 5 days after that who were 4 points clear at the top of the league. And you know, I think that was.
So are they tired or not? Are they not tired? You know, because then you look at the Walsall game, they've run the socks off in it.
They hadn't had 10 hours in a bus. We really didn't have a great deal of time to get ready for that. And I take it, you know, we can do better. Iniki's physical inadequacies are a major challenge. I get that. But I also think there are times when you have to respect the point a bit. And I did feel a bit dejected with 1-1, but also not, you know, it wasn't the end of the world for me.
I respect the Walsall point. I don't respect the Grimsby point.
I think we came back from 1-0 down, which is something we haven't done that often. And we've done it twice in a
week.
We
did a good header, hell of a good header. So John Marquis, what a bullet header that is.
Bullet header Marquis,
yeah.
Did you expect us to win the game before we went into the game, Mike?
After about 10 minutes, I thought it's there. This could be
before
one.
the game kicked off, did you expect?
Well, I never think we're going to win. We could be playing. Well, I think we're going to beat Sutton. So you know.
But I think there's a really good post-match. There's a really good post-match from Appleton after the Sutton game. And he said, this is the first time in my career where I've got a team that is better without the ball. And as painful as it is, and almost like to the credit of what we got out on Saturday against Walsall, is we're just not very good, are we? We're not very good. We're going to come onto it later. We've got 4 or 5 players that we need to get rid of.
Can we move into the Walsall game with that? Because there was a lot about the Walsall game that I thought was really interesting.
It is, right. It is, but we look at the team, and we always do it maybe after the Walsall game. Like, look at the team, and we've still got quite a few round pegs and square holes. Do you know what I mean? So there's still a number of technical deficiencies. Mike's going to have a rant about his one want that he's been desperate for maybe like 3 years. So I'm contradicting myself because I think I've totally changed my opinion. I think Appleton's doing a really good job now. Like he's been able to change the mentality of the players and keep going and not lose them, to turn it around and start picking up points and getting results with this bunch of players, with all the problems we've talked about, Mickey Moore and recruitment and all that stuff. I know also the reason why I think we definitely need to stay with Appleton is we can't get rid of another manager. We can't start again.
Hold on, Ollie. Hang on. In the last 10 games, we've lost 2. If you want to chuck in difficult away games, that means 12 games, we've lost 2.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He's doing really well. With a really bad bunch of players, with a squad that was like terrible in League One and had no confidence at all.
I argue with that a bit, that he's doing a really good job, because we are still.
He's done a really good job
above being drawn. No, because we were at the bottom, and now we're not slightly less on the bottom, but we're still right in it. We're still within a couple of bad results of being in relegation
hold on, Mike.
in League Two.
But the context is quite important, because in the last 10 games, Barrow have got 9 points, right? Newport have got 8 points. Harrogate got 3 points. We got 14 points.
Right, no, fine, brilliant, excellent. Yeah. But we're not picking up enough points, because the point tracker for the season still has us around the relegation zone. Yeah, there needs to be more of an uptick than we've had. All we're doing is digging ourselves out of the hole that we created at the start of the season.
But that's not right.
We're back to parity now. We're not shooting at the league.
No, Mike, it doesn't need to be more of an uptick. Let's get the maths on this, right? So in the last 10 games, we've got 14 points. If we get 14 points in the next 10 games, we get 28. If we get 14 points in the next 10 games, then it's 42. Hang on a minute, it's 42.
But things don't run in straight lines, do they?
49. We are safe with 49. And we still
but things don't go in straight. Well, you think we're just going to maintain this now? We're gone. Done.
No, hang on a minute. You just said...
No dips, no...
You just said if we carry on like this, we won't get out. We will get out of it. Clearly, we'll be about
average for the I don't know. So I don't think
if we do carry on like this, we actually end up in the right place.
I don't know. I can't see. I don't know where the positivity is coming from. The results have turned out. We're drawing a lot of games, but we're not pulling ourselves out of it. We're still in around it. Yeah, I get it. But what I'm seeing on the pitch isn't. It's not telling me that we're getting better. Personally,
it is me.
I don't think we are.
We are getting better.
We are
I mean,
getting
that's your opinion. I don't think we're getting better. I think
I'll
we're
give
still
you the evidence
a struggling
why.
team.
The results back me up.
Yeah, but you know, like,
Yeah, but this is different.
I
Like,
said,
we are getting
opinion.
better, but we're
I
not
have an
good.
opinion. I don't think we're getting better. I don't think we are.
You don't
We're
think
not
we're getting
quite
better at
there.
all?
We ain't going to win the league.
We haven't turned a corner. I think we might have spotted the corner. I think we might have an idea where the corner is, and we can still keep moving towards the corner. I don't think we're around the corner yet. I think we're potentially 2 more bad results.
So out of the next 10 games, what would evidence be that we turn the corner? How many do you want?
I'd like to see us win a game in the league. Would be quite nice.
Well, we have won 3 of the last 10, and if you throw in the FA Cup games, it's 5 of the last 12.
Maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe I don't know anything. But I think we're still towards the bottom of the league. So
yeah, we are.
And we had 5 points after 10 games.
Yeah, but exactly. So we're digging our own hole. I don't know, man. You know,
we're not doing good. We're not doing good.
Yeah,
we're still below where we want to be. Obviously, we know we should be. You know, for this club in this division, we should be banging on the playoffs. Like that's the minimum where we should be, really. Yeah. But the context is we've got a terrible bunch of players. We had a terrible director of football, and we got relegated with no confidence.
I'm not sure we've got a terrible bunch of players anymore. I think they are.
I think we've got enough good players.
Something.
But I think, yeah, we'll come on to the Walsall game. The Walsall game for me is fascinating.
That was really interesting. Yeah,
it's a really interesting game of football. I do think we've improved. There's no point going around this again. I don't think we need to where we need to be. We need to improve significantly, but it's going to take us 2-3 windows, I think, to get to where we want to be. And we're not going to. We've still got too many players in this team that are not good enough.
For me, yeah, League Two is such a poor league, and we're making a meal out of being better in it. And I just look at the teams we're playing. I look at the football I see, and I just think it shouldn't be this hard to be better than this for the club we are, ownership, all that sort of stuff. Like, I think there's enough ability out there to do more, but we're just not getting.
Don't you think we did well against the best team in the division yesterday?
Yeah, we did, absolutely. When we get to it, I'll sing the praises. They did brilliantly yesterday.
I think we're going to the Walsall game.
I think we're there, aren't we? Surely.
Yeah, to go there. Like, I don't know. Maybe I've had a bad week. Maybe I'm busy. You know, like tired.
We've all been there, Mike. Don't worry. We feel your pain.
Yeah, seriously. I can't see it.
I get it. I thought yesterday was interesting for a number of reasons. Wally, what was your take on it? Yesterday being Walsall.
I it was obviously really funny because Mike kind of led the pelters in our WhatsApp group. Plus, I got pelters online from a few weeks ago saying I thought we were improving, and I thought the Walsall game was further evidence for me that we are further improving. We competed with arguably one of the best teams that have been in League Two for the last 2 years.
They're 4 points clear at the top.
I know they're 4 points clear, but also last season they were amazing.
They're the best team. Yeah,
they're the best team in the division. And we had them on the ropes for 25 minutes yesterday. And only for an amazing goal from them. If we'd taken our chances, again, to Mark's point, we've got a lot of players not good enough. We could have won that game. And for me, it was a further evidence that we are improving. And, I genuinely think if you add, I know it's still quite a few players, add 3 decent players to that team, we'd be comfortably mid-table side. What was you were there, Dan, and what was your kind of thoughts on the day?
I haven't watched a game of football like that involving Shrewsbury Town this season. Everything about that game was different, right? And mostly for the better. Now, the first half, I mean, I tried to keep away from the phone when I'm, watching the game, often unsuccessfully. But so I wasn't really following what anyone else was saying. But I'm not used to seeing us have as much of the ball as we did. And when I got home, I had a look through the social media posts, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we did nothing with it. It was crap." And I'm like, I don't really understand. We're keeping the ball, right? And I get it. We didn't create that many chances, but at the same time, I'm not used to us having as much possession against what apparently is a very good team. So that was a bit of a surprise to watch that. And I could see what we were doing. I could see how we were trying to get our 2 wing backs overloaded with Hall supporting them, and ideally Scully, that it wasn't going to be, whoever was left of the 3 there. And I thought this is quite interesting, really. The problem was trying to get that ball into Scully, into the 2 central midfielders. Right, I felt that they weren't really part of our build-up play, and that meant that we only had the option really of going wide. But what I'm suddenly finding is we've got problems and challenges to do with having the ball. And we haven't had the ball all year.
Walsall, this will be a bit of a misnomer. Walsall don't want the ball.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I didn't really... The Walsall play like this was my question.
I think all the time. This is like known as like the Matt Sadler way. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they don't want, and so they're one of the lowest possession sides in the division. And they
Yeah.
turn the game into a series of set plays.
And
they
they were on the go slow from about 25 minutes. And I couldn't believe it. You're top of the league and we're not very good.
No, but they time wasted basically from when they scored, which was only after like 3 minutes.
And what a goal it was, I have to say.
It was an amazing goal.
He turned Anderson, I get it. And Klukas should have made a tackle in the midfield beforehand as well, by the way. Klukas I don't think is doing particularly well in that role. But the point was a brilliant goal, Ollie. And we could easily have gone backwards there and lost 4-0. But we didn't. And I think that deserves something. Yeah, apparently the old social media world says first half was completely shite. I don't think it was shite.
I didn't agree with that.
No. But the second half, again, we pushed them right back. We started creating chances. I tell you what, the 1,500 people in that away end all thought McDermott was going to score with the second of those free kicks. It just felt like it was going to be our day. He didn't. But I thought the vibe around, I'm not really the vibes man. I'm going back to Mike for that. But my vibe on the day was that this was a different performance. And it was a performance that we actually looked like we could go toe-to-toe with apparently the best team. So I thought we could have won, sure. But ultimately, said it before, got to respect the point away at Walsall because a lot of teams are going to go there and not win. So, it was much better than I feared it might be as I was driving up the M40.
Yeah. And I think that structural play, the game plan, mixing, having different approaches to games, why I'm really quite, I wouldn't say pleased with Appleton, but I respect what he's done in the job.
Yeah. Another different goal scorer as well, Ollie.
Yeah.
Anderson,
Anderson.
Will Brook, you got to sort your life out, mate. We need him on penalties or something. Everyone else, I think, has scored.
Well, I think Perry's trying to claim the deflection, but for me, it was an Anderson goal. A good point, and for me, a good performance. Just like it's really funny because my wife came in after the game and she's like, "Oh, she almost spot by the score." She said, "Like, what was the game?" And my thought was, we're actually now. This is a bit of a shock. It's been a few years in the making. We're actually a bit of a competent team again. We're actually competent at going into football games, games that we would have definitely lost to the start. Of the season.
We're not that easy to beat anymore.
No.
And that's.
I'm not saying we're good. Progress. To be super clear, I'm not saying we're good. I'm saying we're competent now.
We're verging on competent. I think it was nice that, like yesterday, it was a breath of fresh air because we seemed like we weren't scrapping around in the game. We had, like you say, we had a game plan and we had a way of approaching it. It was a weird experience watching us play against Walsall and be given the ball. That was, and it's obviously working. Like you say, they're top of the league. But if you want to stop shooting 10, don't let them have the ball because we can't do anything. We can chase shadows all day, and the only time we're going to score is if we've got the ball. And if you're good enough to keep it off us, but like you say, it's working for Walsall. I just thought it was nice to see us have the ball, and I hope that gives the team confidence that they can look after it. They don't have to just keep banging it up or giving it away all the time. They can play a bit of football and move through the thirds rather than
But you say that, Mo. There's two things I thought were interesting. One was a plus and one was a minus. One is I thought Cabia had his poorest game for quite a long time.
He struggled.
That's not a massive criticism. He's had a load of good games, to be honest. He's been our best player in quite a number of them. But I thought we played quite well and Cabia didn't play well. I take that as a positive because he can play much better than he did then. And I did feel that much as Ruffles has added an awful lot. I thought Ruffles had come as a left back. Clearly, I was wrong. He's added a lot in the middle of the park. When we play through the thirds, we still don't really play through the centre. We don't really play through those two. And I can see why Isaac England is. Yeah, England is your man. England can play, but he's also physically, he's not quite where we need him to be. So that to me is still areas we can improve, but things around it are ticking much better than they were.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you say that we don't really play through the middle because I think that's been helped by the fact that Luke Hall, post the Gillingham game, has been in much better form. Klukas on the left, whilst not an out-and-out left wing back, and he's jobbing out there, isn't he? But he's doing a decent job most of the time, and he looks after the ball, and he finds his play, and he doesn't give it away. So we retain it up the left, we retain it up the right. Cabia I think he's our most effective player at the moment. Wasn't his best day at Walsall, but he can work in those wide channels. Same way when you get George Lloyd out in the left. So we can play around it, like you say, but there is still a huge honking gap in the middle of the park that needs somebody who can put their foot on it. And I know you talk about, so it's not. I see Taylor Perry's more of a 10. He's full of energy. He's better up the top of the pitch. He doesn't really cover or screen in front of a defence. And I'd say it's the same for people like, I think Ruffles would be better at left back. I don't, he does a bit in there. Or, Sang, he's an energy top of the pitch player. And I know you talk about England, who's definitely got the attributes, but I think just experience and level of discipline and just awareness on the pitch where he is. He'd be brilliant with, like a proper experienced screening midfielder. I think he'd really bring him on.
I think all of our midfielders would do better in a 3. And the frustrating thing is we're not really defensively good enough to not play at 3 at the back. And we kind of need to play with midfield 3 and a defensive 3, and obviously that doesn't really work.
I suppose what you sort of talking about, Ruffles sitting deep and
or not even maybe Ruffles, but I think like Perry and England and like even McDermott, I think all of them would do better with a sitter. I think we always thought Klukas would be the sitter, but he hasn't got the legs to do it in unless we were a really high percentage possession based.
There's an irony that he hasn't got the legs. So I'll tell you what, we're playing wing back.
I say he's a lot better now than when he tried it.
He's a bit fitter, but I don't know whether he could do it. Appleton obviously didn't trust him in midfield, so he put him at left wing back. But almost this is just like the problem with our team, isn't it? Because like you take Kabir out of the front 3 and put him at right wing back, doesn't quite work. And it's just like I say, we're a competent team now, but that's almost why I give Appleton credit for it, because we're a competent team with like. He's like almost like he's made a good meal with some really dodgy ingredients. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a weird team. Like you look at the team, like. But I do think what players out of position. Do you know what I mean?
Having Hall as the right of the back 3.
Oh, he's brilliant, isn't he?
He gives us a bit of pace, and I think he's gone a bit grumpy on us, right? And I like grumpy Luca. Right, because Grumpy Luca gets in and bloody kicks people
because he wasn't playing.
Maybe, but he's suddenly become someone who no one's running for him at the moment. He's going to put his foot in. He's going to win the ball. And I mean, Sheffield United had these underlapping centre halves, didn't they? And when he goes forward with Cabby on that right, we've immediately got overloads with pace. Now, it didn't really work against Walsall, but I can see Hall doing his bit there. So I'm intrigued. That what's he going to do on Saturday? Is he going to go back to having Stubbs in there with him, or is Luca Hall going to keep his place?
I think you'll immediately go back to Stubbs, Boyle,
I think you're right,
Anderson, annoyingly, and I don't think he should. But it's been interesting you're talking about that underlapping centre halves. I'm not sure it's exactly what it is, but I've noticed that Hoole goes forward a lot from his position. But when the ball shifts across, I've noticed Boyle goes forward a lot as well. You'll often see Boyle going past Klukas. And I think there's an element of that where because we're short in the middle, we're sending forward a defender to sort of fill that gap a little bit as well and put an extra body in there, which I think it's maybe evidence that Appleton's trying to fix the problem without being able to put a specialist in there. Is just put some more bodies around it.
It's quite ironic,
maybe he's trying to do something.
Hall looks quite at home doing that, whereas Boyle, I mean, the best in the world.
It's not his best job, is it? Like,
no, it's not.
No.
But it hasn't been too bad. I think Boyle over the last few weeks. Obviously, one player that has improved significantly is Marquis Dan.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he scored over 100 goals in the Football League, so there's got to be something about him. And I think he's had a pretty rancid 12 months. But over the last 3 games, he was man of the match against Sutton, wasn't he? Apparently, did the TV company give him man of the match?
TV gave him man of the match.
I was in the Salopian, and the whole pub just started laughing when that came on the screen.
I wonder what Cabby said after scoring the goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, I think his touch has got a bit better. And his positional sense seems to have got just a little bit better. And he's not suddenly become Teddy Sheringham. But I do think there's been a noticeable improvement over the last few weeks. And he's always tried hard. He just at times has tried hard in the same way that my under-10s try hard. Sometimes completely clueless almost. But I do think there's been a degree of sharpness. And that header against, he got in the right place. It was a bullet.
That header was superb. That was a super header. He's definitely improved.
I think it's important because I think we've got our loanee from Peterborough who may come back at some time in the new year, but I think getting goal scorers is very hard. So if we can get a proven goal scorer to actually become a proven goal scorer again, or even look like a proven goal scorer, then it'll be almost like having another player.
I think the thing with Marquis, and I've been quite critical about him at times, is like he was brought in to score goals. I don't really want him to do anything else if he's scoring goals, and you're almost getting more with less because he's not. There was that period when we were playing him as a number 10, and he was sort of running channels and coming back to muck up the midfield. And I think we kind of stopped now. We just sort of putting him through the middle, up top, feeding him, and he's starting to pick up goals and he's starting to occupy defenses higher up the pitch. And that's what I wanted from him. So we're almost getting more. It's like we've almost said to him, you don't need to do so much, John. You don't need to go and get involved and start it and finish it. Just stay up there and we'll get the ball to you. Just trust us to get the ball to you. Just be in the right place. And that's where, he's on the edge of the box or he's in the box. And that's exactly where we want him. So if we can carry on with that and keep the service coming, I think Cabia helps with that because he's got the pace and the directness to get around the side and whip the balls in and get him some service. And I think yeah, like I say, that it's been nice to see him just go and spearhead the attacks. That's what I thought he'd do the day we signed him, and it took sort of 12, 18 months to get there, isn't it?
Yeah, we did score over 10 goals last year in League One, but I know what you're saying. I prefer him to be. It was almost a bit like when we had Grant Holt and he was trying to do too much, and then we just said, play up front, and then you kind of get the best of him. Yeah, but those who are on the podcast, we're now showing the squad, because we kind of think we've moved into a little bit of the January transfer window.
Ollie, point of order. For the old men in the room, what the hell is AML?
Oh, attacking midfielder left. Attacking midfielder right.
Midfielder left. My goodness.
It's a winger, mate. He's a winger.
It's a winger, mate. Exactly what it is, Mike. Yes.
Well, it's shorter than right and winger. So if you're looking at the squad, if you imagine the squad, in this squad now, there's the team that starts, and there ain't much left after it. So if you're going through the whole squad now, I think players that potentially could leave, because Appleton has said he wants to bring quite a few faces. There was obviously Harrison's Biggins agent on LinkedIn saying he's available if anyone wants him. So if you look at the squad, obviously Brook has signed a new deal, which is great news. 2.5-year deal. He signed it 10 days after we did the last pod. So this is obviously new news from a podcast perspective. Where so he's obviously Harrison might get taken back by Man United because he's not playing, and then a left wing back, obviously Benning, who doesn't get a game at the moment, so maybe he might want to leave. Sang seems to have obviously dropped out of favour at the moment as well, but I can't see him going anywhere. And then obviously you've got Ihoverhen up front and Chucks and Ike as well. So between Chucks and Ike, even Benning, Harrison, that's quite a few and Biggins, that's quite a few players, Mike, that potentially could be an opportunity for us to get rid of a player. Someone will take them. That'll be the biggest challenge, and hopefully maybe bring some fresh blood into the team.
Well, wasn't Ruffles only here till January as well? So he.
Well, that's the rumor. When I did check for pod prep, I did check the articles of both Chucks and Ike and Ruffles, but nothing was mentioned in either of those articles. And it did come out, I think, through the press maybe that Ruffles was only on a deal till January. So would you, I guess, first question then, would you like to see him stay?
Yeah, he's done well enough since he's been here. He's good quality,
absolutely.
And he can play multiple positions as well. So he's a really handy guy to have around. He's slotted in pretty well, considering he didn't have much of a pre-season or anything. He's picked it up quite quick, I think.
Made a difference, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's just settled it down in there a bit. Yeah.
And we obviously got quite a lot of we're playing a number of players out of position, and we don't have a huge squad. In terms of kind of recruitment, Mike, what would you top three? What would you like to see in the transfer window?
Top three. Look, I mean, I've talked about it to death. I'm not going to go over the reasons why, but we just need a central midfielder who's going to compete and battle and calm it down in there, put his foot on the ball. Just a bit of a general in there, because I think we've got a lot of runners and ball players, but nobody who's able to screen and protect the defence a bit better. I'd like to see a left wing back, because I think Benning will go, but I'd like to give Klukas the opportunity to play in his best position, the position he's played in his entire career. He's doing a job out at left wing back, but he could be more effective, I think, if we bring him into the middle, whether that's higher up the pitch or he works as a sort of a pivot too, as they call it nowadays. I don't know, and it's difficult because I think I'd almost like to see a right wing back, but probably another striker, somebody try and get some goals. I think Ihoverhen might be done. I think Anike is done. I think Marquise is coming back to it. Lloyd does a lot of running, but if you've got Lloyd, Cavier, Scully, Marquise as your four, and they do a lot of running in that press, I think you need some extra legs in there just to have another attacking option when the game starts stacking up. So it'd be centre mid, left wing back, and a striker.
And you don't?
Yeah, I mean, I never know. These discussions always confuse me, to be honest. I mean, I'll take any player who improves what we got. I want to just get that out there on principle. If we don't need him, then we're asking the wrong question. We always need people who will improve us, full stop. So we need those connections to work that Appleton has. I think also we're going to be in a loan market, aren't we? So we've got to work out what loanees are out there, whether they fit into what we're trying to do. And some will and some won't. So, it's all stuff that I don't have enough knowledge on to really pass comment. What I would say is I think Klukas is just about getting by, but he's mid-30s. He's not a wing back. He never was a wing back. He's sort of done okay based on the fact that he can get 3 or 4 great balls in a game, but I don't see defensively any great skill set there. To be fair, I've always tried to defend Benning, but I suspect this time at the Meadow is done. So I think we may well need somebody there, not just because Benning's probably not going to be the man and will go, but also I don't think Lucas is either. I think we can improve the team. Lucas can move somewhere else to do that. So right wing back as well. I think Cabby has probably learned quite a lot playing at right wing back, and I think that's good. What I would say though is we're not here just to make Cabbier's worldview a bit broader. We can get more out of him when he's further up the pitch. So I would like to see Hull play on the right of those three and somebody else play outside Hull. If that person is
what about Sang? Could he do a better job at right wing back? Do you think
gives the ball away too much?
Yeah, totally.
Wherever he plays, I mean, he's got a bit of energy. I like he's quite upbeat. I like the fact that he wants to try and play forward, but he gives the ball away too much, and I don't think that'll change. And you're much better giving the ball away from number 10 than you are from right wing back. You start giving it away there, then you've got all sorts of pain coming in your direction. So I don't see Sang as being the option, but I mean, I suspect he will play there a little bit before the season ends.
And that's just the kind of obviously inherent problem we have. I think it's fair to say that apart from Chuks and Ike, the signings under Appleton have been much better. Since
absolutely.
Kind of
and even Ike, I get the gamble. You're not getting.
It's probably not. It's probably quite a low risk gamble and that as well.
Ruffles, that they're arguably our best two. If I was voting for players,
Cabia as well was a signing. Appleton signing. But
if I was voting now, it would be those players who would be in my thinking. I have to say Hull has had a much better month than he's had, previous year before then. So I think the water is rising, and everybody's right. If you're a ship on the water and the water rises, you rise with it. And I think there's quite a few people who are doing that. But the centre of the park, the point that Mike makes, well, I think it'd be quite hard to say no to that. But I do think that Ruffles has made a difference, and I like that. Somebody like, I've got a mental block now, Ollie. The number 42 we had, pretty grumpy old soul, played in the year.
Oh, I know who you mean. I can't think of his name. Oh my
left
God.
the club under a bit of a cloud.
Yeah, played for a number of London lower league players, a proper defensive midfielder. Played
at Chelsea. I'm going to remember at 2 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. But somebody who sits there and basically runs the game, gets in the ref's ear, and every other opposition fan hates. And that type of character will be perfect. But they're hard to get, particularly in January.
And that's the big challenge. Obviously, is trying to find good players in January is going to be hard. But yeah, it's
you think about that. If you could find one, you could take Ruffles out the middle and put him back at left wing back, which is Lucas to go up the pitch. Because at the moment, every time you solve a problem, you create a problem. So you could say, okay, we're going to put Hulin at centre half, but then we haven't got a right back. And then we're going to put Cabby in to cover at right back. Well, then we lose our pace attacker on the right wing. We just haven't got enough players to fill out a full team where you're not sort of compromising somewhere. And that's squad building. That's Mickey Mellon's legacy. That is, isn't it? That's what we're left with.
Mickey Moore, yeah.
Mickey Mellon. And Mickey Mellon. If there's any players, there's no players still here from under Mellon, I think. Yeah, I think they've all gone. Yeah.
And that's the reason why I did say pick 3, because obviously, if you had your
Ollie,
your
sorry, just for Anthony Grant.
Yeah, Anthony Grant, that's it.
And Anthony Grant's that character. Yeah.
But I think, almost I'm thinking long term as well. Whoever we sign in January, I don't want to be in a situation where we sign, I don't know. I was thinking before we should sign another centre back because then they'll be better than Anderson for say. But then we've got loads and loads and loads of centre backs, and I only want to play 2 next year. So I think anything we do in January means I think I really want us to go to a back 4. And I'm almost thinking now, actually, I'd like us to sign 2 central midfielders. This is Mike's influence. 2 central midfielders.
Yes, mate. Now we're talking.
Get 3, why not? Yeah, get 2 central midfielders if we can. Then you can play Ruffles at left wing back, and then you can play Lucas. I'm sure if Lucas was playing, 2 games, 1 game a week rather than 2, you'd probably even get more output from him. We'll play Ruffles at left wing, but obviously assuming Ruffles is going to sign, and another striker.
Ollie, go to Hull. Get Jude Bellingham in, man.
But we just, easily you could say, I want another centre back, I want 2 wing backs, I want 2 central midfielders, and I want another number 2. Yeah, it's too easy to do that. So, and it's not going to happen. But there's no reason why we can't. We can't bring in quite a couple of good loan players, and obviously Appleton does have a reputation for being a good. We're good with the loan players. So it'd be interesting to see what we can do in the January transfer window.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that squad now, and if you take out the players we think will leave, we're always on that knife edge.
Literally a Sunday league team, aren't we? If you take them out, we literally are texting at 2 o'clock in the morning. 15,
but then we're like two in. We could have 2 injuries. If Ruffles got injured and Cabio got injured, the capability of that squad goes down massively, doesn't it? You lose all the pace, you lose the control in the middle of the park. Like, we're on a knife edge in terms of just being lucky with injuries or just becoming overtired or overplaying these very few players. That's a real risk in the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's a huge risk, and that's why that's why that Tuesday night game against Grimsby is when we look to the bench. Ain't much there for him to call on. That's why I think he's doing a decent job with what he's got. That's where we are, I think, with the transfer window. Any final comments there? Should we move on to the Wolves game? So we've drawn Wolves in the FA Cup. That will be played in January. I can't remember the day, but it's normally like the first or second weekend in January, isn't it? When the FA Cup game is played.
10th or 11th it is, Solly, second weekend.
Yeah, so 10th, 11th of January. So that'll be an interesting game. What were your thoughts when you heard that draw?
Mike, what do you make of it?
It's a lovely draw. It's nice to get a local rival. I mean, I don't think they think we're a rival. I think we're not rivals, are we? But it's a local game. It's sort of the local Premier League team, an away match. It'll be a decent atmosphere. Well, it should be a decent atmosphere. If the Wolves fans turn up, I think they're going to boycott, aren't they? And I think they're quite right to at the moment with the state of their club. But I remember when we had them when they were in League One. I mean, that seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? Those games were really good. When we had them in the cup a couple of years ago, that game was really good. So it was a good draw, I think. Obviously everybody wants to go away to Spurs or Man United, but there's something in Wolves Shrewsbury that stirs the blood a bit. So I thought it was a decent draw. My kids were excited. Ironically, I won't actually be able to go because my daughter is dancing in a show in London, and we're going to go and watch that weekend. We've already booked the tickets and the hotels, so I'll be the dad, trying to keep the screen light low so we can check the score while the dancing's going on. That's what I'll be doing.
So no, I was quite pleased. I guess you say, I don't believe it's a winnable tie per se, even though they are doing terrible in the Premier League. They're still Premier League players, and obviously, as Dan said earlier, the gulf between the Premier League and the EFL, let alone League Two, is vast. But you never know; these things do happen. Grimsby beat Man United earlier in the season. We could have a win. It could happen, but it's obviously quite low likelihood. What was your kind of gut reaction, Dan, when you saw it?
I was, I mean, I think there are plenty worse ties. I thought we were going to get Fleetwood away or something. I thought it was destined to be, the type of tie that no one wants. But this one, it's a Premier League club. They are struggling. They are, as you say, to be crystal clear, massive favourites. Some of the language I saw on social media is like, folks, come back and join us on planet Earth. Don't mean we might not win, but this is Shrewsbury Everton of 2003 territory. This is like, one hit in 100 that you'll get. But we nearly beat them in the cup at our place not so long ago. If I remember rightly, we were 2-0 up and we drew 2-2. So I mean, it's a big ground. It's a free hit. If we get beat, don't really matter. And I thought, there are plenty worse ties than that. My twins were happy, but they don't know any Wolves fans. This is the interesting bit. They wanted to play against a club who they knew fans from, and so they weren't as happy as I thought they were going to be. But we'll be there and looking forward to it. I mean, as Mike says, we had some reasonable experiences against Wolves in the past. We drew 0-0 in the league, didn't we, Mike? Do I remember that? We basically, which is a good point back in the day. So
Like when we went there and they gave us all the bottom end of the one side, didn't we? We
had John Island stand, didn't they?
It was a great atmosphere. We were buzzing. So if we take a good crowd there, which I think we should,
we will,
especially considering, and we'll get onto it, the tickets are quite cheap. So the idea that we were going to get a nice payday from a Premier League club sort of got down the tubes, isn't it?
Yeah, not happy. So Roland Wycherley, who is now obviously a media darling and is always now in the national press, has said that Wolves.
I'm not surprised the quotes he comes out with, blinking heck. Yeah.
He said that the Wolves have shafted Shrewsbury Town, which is an interesting take on it. I can obviously understand where he's coming from. He was hoping, Premier League team. I'm quite surprised we're not on TV. Obviously, everyone really wants to watch Man United versus Brighton again.
Can I just say though, Ollie, the magic of the cup? What bullshit! Villa Tottenham. Another run-of-the-mill Premier League game. I don't mind them showing those games, but just don't then sell me the magic of the cup because you don't really care that much, all right?
No, I don't.
Rant over.
So and obviously Wolves doing really bad. It's obviously roles reversed now. We're the potential, big upset. So I'm surprised that we weren't picked up, especially if we were picked up by BBC and TNT. I'm surprised one of them didn't pick us up. So it is what it is. I can understand for the chairman's perspective, he's a bit disappointed we're not on TV. They're doing £10 tickets, £5 tickets. But Dan, if you're taking your kids, as Chris said in our WhatsApp group, it's going to cost you 20 quid rather than maybe like 70 quid. So, from a fan perspective,
Yeah, I can see a number of different perspectives on this. And I mean, my boys played away at Dorking Wanderers today in the under-10s. And the reason I mention it, Dorking Wanderers playing the National League South, right? And I couldn't help but notice the entry prices for a Dorking Wanderers game. Any guesses? What was it cost an adult to watch a National League South game at?
Well, Dorking, I
In the
know that part
southeast.
very well.
15 quid.
No.
18.
Yeah, I was
18?
saying nearly 20
And it's
quid.
like, I'm thinking 18 quid, whereas we're going to get Wolves for a tenner. And
Mm.
I mean, as a fan, I think, well, you know, you're encouraging people to go. And I think that is very noble, to be honest. I mean, I get Roland's point in that ideally we'd like to make a little bit of money out of this, but if there's 25,000 there, we will still make some money. You know, I don't think we'll come away from it, you know, with nothing at all. So I get Roland's point, actually, although I'm not sure I'd have made it in the same way. But as a fan, I hope that it encourages more people to go, and you know those prices are in the right bracket to do that, right?
Yeah. It's like, I think Roland's point is like they've shafted Roland Wycherley or the institution of Shrewsbury Town. They haven't shafted
Or our
Shrewsbury
transfer
Town
budget.
fans. Exactly. Or like, but like we, speaking from my point of view, like I say, I'm not going, but I would have loved the cheaper tickets. We paid more for our season ticket this season after getting relegated. You know, we're paying more for a worse product, and then we get a big day out, and Wolves put the cost down. Great, as a fan, it feels like a bit of money back. Feels like a little win for a fan. But I think he's quite tone deaf in coming out and complaining about it.
Why put it in the press?
The alternative is basically
he's
he's sort of saying, "Oh, they've screwed me over here. I'm gonna have to spend my own bloody money now." Well, yeah, you own the football club, mate. Sometimes you're gonna have to, like, you know, fund it and run it. You know.
So I understand he's being frustrated, but why has he told the Daily Mail? Just a bit daft.
Can't help himself.
I think because the reporter's a Scorpio, wasn't it, or something? There's something to do with that knocking about. Yeah,
they're both like the same TV channel, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, not sure. But anyway, it is what it is.
Well, I would say, Ollie, I mean,
up.
Those of us who are going to pay to go to watch Shrewsbury at Grimsby, Ollie, those of us who are going to pay. I suspect you won't be, right? Because you're in the media class for that one. Is that right?
Maybe.
Good on you. Good on you. The voice of reason on BBC. But in all seriousness, I think it's 25 quid to watch Grimsby, and I think Grimsby's in the bloody northeast, a rundown part of the country, and you're charging people £25 on the 29th of December. Just feels like a lot of money.
Was Walsall 28 quid, something like that?
Walsall, I can't remember, but it wasn't particularly cheap. I can't remember, to be honest. It was, yeah. So it costs a lot to watch football.
Yeah, and talking of watching football, 3 games coming up over Christmas. So we've got on Saturday we're at home to Chesterfield. Then we've got away to Cheltenham, Steve Cottrell's Cheltenham Town on Boxing Day, and then we're playing Grimsby at the lovely time of 7:45 on Monday the 29th. I can imagine it's going to be bloody freezing. If you go in, make sure you'll take your thermal underwear. And yeah, we go into a number of games. I think with Chesterfield, decent side. That Cheltenham game is going to be fascinating. Obviously, a bit of a 6-pointer in the relegation zone, and obviously the Steve Cottrell one. I think he'll get a different perception, Dan, than Gareth Ainsworth did.
Not from me.
Fans.
Maybe not from Mike.
Yeah, you'll get a lovely reception.
Oh God,
lovely.
What I would say is I didn't enjoy going there on Boxing Day. Was it 3 years ago? That was a pretty rubbish day all round. We need to be better than that. I think some bloke called Lloyd scored 2 goals for Cheltenham, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did.
So fingers crossed we can get something out of these games and keep Dan happy, and Mike a bit happier. Obviously been to keep Mike happy.
I'm going to go away and I'm going to reconsider. I think you might have talked me around a little bit. Maybe I think I'm still jaded from the all experiences of last season and the relegation stuff. They've got a lot of work to do to win me over, but
and then he said
maybe I'm in the corner.
Mike. Yeah, and then he said you're quite simple, Mike. But you just want your team to win games. You just want your team to win games, don't you?
Yeah, I just want it to be shit. It's not too much to ask, is it? Yeah.
No. I was going to ask about those. So if you include Bristol Rovers on New Year's Day, now I know we'll have a podcast before then. So that's 4 games against a right mix of sides, actually. If I offered you 7 points, Ollie, what would you do there?
It's not bad. I think that'd be pretty decent.
Mike, would you take 7?
I'm really gutted that Bristol Rovers sacked their manager because he was doing a great job for us.
Yeah. You can't survive when you've lost 10 on the pounds. No one can survive that.
No,
obviously with my lofty ambitions, you probably think I want maximum return from those 3 games. But 7's fine. Like again,
just in terms of the fixtures you're talking about,
I might be 1 over at that point. Yeah, you never know.
I was going to run through the teams really quickly to your point, Dan, who we're playing. So we've got Chesterfield, Cheltenham, Grimsby, Bristol Rovers, Salford. Then we've got Harrogate, MK Dons, Cambridge, Barnet, and then into February then. But yeah, some winnable games in there.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I thought you were going to say Barrow, but Barrow must be the Wolves.
Barrow's been postponed.
Ah, so that's going to be that could be interesting because they're not doing particularly well at the moment.
No, they've just sacked their manager as well. So it's that time of the year. And as I said on my last podcast, or did I say on BBC Shropshire? I can't remember now. But I'd love it for Appleton completely. You know, we always sack our managers. You always sack managers. Really hope Appleton turns it around. And I'd obviously, to Mike's point, I'd love nothing more if he's still here next season and we have a really good season next year. It's going to take time to turn this ship around, but I'd bloody love that. It would be fantastic.
I think the key thing to remember with Appleton, he isn't going anywhere. Barring an absolute disastrous turn of form, he's in for the season. Like with everything going on with the takeover, Roland's not going to sack another manager. So you kind of got to get behind it one way or the other and hope.
Except the T word, Mike, the non-existent takeover that's probably never going to happen. But yeah.
Oh, did I? Sorry, yeah, the Fantasyland sort of idea that somebody might want to spend money on Shrewsbury. Yeah. Well, that's all very quiet. We've had it's been a month since the last pod, and there's nothing on that, is there? So there's no point in covering too much detail. But what the hell? Yeah,
completely. Yeah, it's not going to happen. And that's my thoughts. I thought, and it helps me. I'm sleep at night, not even thinking it's ever going to happen. So it is what it is. Any final thoughts, Dan, guys, Mike? Any final thoughts before we close the pod?
I think it's an interesting part of the season. We have got some teams that are right around us coming up. Chesterfield different. Say hello to Shea Dunkley at the weekend. I always felt Shea Dunkley was a proper footballer. And then we got some teams, the Cheltenhams, the Bristol Rovers, who we could, getting towards business end of the, not quite business end of the season, that's overdoing it, but we need some points against those teams. So I think we're entering an interesting period. Christmas is always great, right? I love Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Even if it's, Cambridge away or whatever it was.
I might see if I can negotiate that one. Be a good one to go to. I do like going to Cheltenham. It's there's such a nice little town. Some really good bars and pubs, and it's obviously a ground in a decent location for that kind of away day. And I can get the train there quite nicely as well.
On Boxing Day.
Oh shit! Yeah, no,
say you're doing well there.
Yeah,
bloody, that's a shame. I probably could have actually walked from the train station, my village, to Cheltenham. That's a shame.
Scuppered.
Yeah, classic Dan bringing us down. Oh, sorry, that's Mike. Bringing us down to town. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks very much. Enjoyed that. And we'll hopefully be back. I think after the Grimsby game, hopefully some wins to talk about.
Fingers crossed.
And we'll be back again soon. Thanks very much.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, fellas.